been having a good time while they're sitting in their seats. There's not a whole lot for them to do at this particular time. You see some smiles there on our commander, so it sounds like everything is fun inside the capsule. Tracy, you mentioned earlier that this crew is just at, you know, the epitome of working together and just having these amazing personalities, and I can only imagine what it might be like to be, of course, you know, flies in Crew Dragon. That's foreign object debris, that's fun, but to be a fly on the wall and kind of peek in on these interactions, it must be so fascinating.
Yeah, if I had to guess, even though we can't see Aki, we know he's smiling, right? He's the one probably making them all laugh. Yeah, these guys have worked together. We've all worked together before being assigned to crew together, and these four have intertwined in a number of ways. As you know, Shane and Thomas flew in space together on their expedition. Aki credits Megan for teaching him how to Capcom, and this is how you Capcom, Aki. And he told me that he gave me credit for giving him the opportunity to first make a Quindar, which is the ping that you hear when you have keyed the mic in mission control to space to ground, or air to ground, or in this case, dragon to ground. And I'll take it, you know, whatever contribution I made to his fabulous career. I'm very honored. But yeah, this crew is top-notch people at heart, as well as technically sound and brilliant in all that they've done. So I can only imagine them being concentrated together in a capsule. And it was just too much goodness. The rest of us probably just wouldn't be able to fit in there. So it's great.
And there's a look outside at the launch pad, looking at the crew access arm extended out, still connected at this point to the Crew Dragon Endeavour. That will retract from the capsule as we get closer to launch, around the T-minus 42-minute mark. So again, we've just been standing by to listen to the launch escape system health checks. We expected to hear that about T-minus 1 hour and 30 minutes, but we haven't heard it just yet. Again, it is now T-minus 14 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. Liftoff will be about 1 hour before sunrise here on Florida's Space Coast, and if we're lucky, we may see a beautiful contrail at first light. At the time of launch at 5:49 and 2 seconds Eastern Time, the space station will be flying 258 miles over the Indian Ocean south of Sri Lanka. And now with T-minus 13 minutes, 50 seconds and counting, we want to focus on the pad as we proceed through the final stretch of the countdown. We will turn it over to Hawthorne to take us through launch at 5:49 this morning. John?
We're inside T-minus 14 minutes. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon, 49 minutes and 2 seconds after the hour. Falcon 9 began propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes. Loading of the RP-1 fuel onto Stage 2 is complete. Fuel loading is continuing on the first stage. We're over half full, and it will finish at T-minus 6 minutes. The densified liquid oxygen loading is continuing on the first stage, and we began loading liquid oxygen onto the second stage a few minutes ago. The liquid oxygen loading will wrap up T-minus 3 minutes on the first stage, about T-minus 2 minutes on the second stage. Checkouts of the thrust vector controllers, what we call TVC wiggles, are coming up, along with throttle valve checkouts on the engines. That's where we move the engines a little bit, make sure the hydraulics are ready to go. Currently the range is go, ready to support, working no issues, and we continue to have good weather both at the launch pad at ground level, at the upper altitude winds, and downrange at the contingency landing sites. On the Dragon spacecraft, the Dragon mission director and team, they're reporting no issues. Their communication checkouts are complete. The crew access arm is retracted, as you see on your monitors, away from the vehicle. The launch escape system is armed. The crew is strapped in and ready to go. Final instructions of the crew will be coming at T-minus 10 minutes. They'll configure their displays for launch. That'll give them insight into how the launch is proceeding, and it provides constant updates on vehicle health. And for Dragon at T-minus 5 minutes, we'll hear it enter terminal count as they transition to internal power. And we're going to hear continued call-outs on the countdown net as we get close to T-0 and to the liftoff. Now, Gary, we talked about the ascent sequence of events that are coming up here. You and Jesse went through that a little while ago. But we're also going to have abort modes. Can you explain a little bit about what the abort mode callouts are that we might hear?
That's right, John. We're continuing to track that the Falcon 9 and Dragon are looking good for launch, but just in case anything were to happen, Dragon is fully prepared to initiate an abort and use those Super Draco engines to escape from a speeding Falcon 9. On the way uphill, you'll hear a series of letter and number combinations. Those will denote the stage that the rocket is on and the abort zone that we're on as well. On the first stage, you'll hear abort zones A and B. That will cover the Falcon 9's ascent up to about the northern border of North Carolina, about 7.5 to 8 miles in altitude. And the stage 2 will have stage 2A through E. Mostly it will be stage A, or stage 2A abort zone, but towards the end of the 6 minutes that stage 2 will be firing, you'll hear the numbers start going out from B to E, with E being an abort to orbit. All of these capabilities enabled on the Dragon spacecraft to make sure that the crew will be delivered safely into orbit. Inside 10 minutes and 30 seconds, we should be hearing some final status, maybe a good luck and Godspeed from some of the ground teams here, ensuring that the crew is ready to go. That Falcon 9, Dragon, and all the support teams are ready for launch.
Crew and vehicle ready for this mission. I want to say a special thank you to our families and friends. I'm incredibly grateful for your support and sacrifice during our training and our upcoming flight. Our crew is flying astronauts from NASA, ESA, and JAXA, which hasn't happened in over 20 years. We're excited to represent our nations, agencies, and all of humanity. Off the Earth, for the Earth, Endeavour is ready to go.
All right, some celebratory handshakes from inside the Crew Dragon. That was the voice of the Corps, Jack Healy, here in Mission Control Hawthorne. Next series of events, John, will be the engine chill. Everything's looking good so far.
Yeah, it is. We're actually watching the fuel trim valves on the Merlin 1B engines, going through some checkouts right now. And as you said, at T-minus 7 minutes, we're going to start a sequence of events that begins with opening the pre-valves. Currently, the liquid oxygen, the kerosene fuel on the Falcon 9 first, second stages is separated from the Merlin engines. T-minus 7 minutes, just over a minute from now, we open the pre-valves. That allows propellant down to the top of the engine, or the inlet to the turbo pumps. At the same time, we open up bleed valves on the turbo pumps, and that allows a little bit of that densified ultra-cold liquid oxygen to flow through the pump and to chill down the liquid oxygen pump. That way, when we get to T-minus 2 seconds and we spin the pumps up and everything comes to full power, we're not pulling very cold liquid oxygen through a warm pump. So as that cools it down right now, that'll get it ready for that ignition sequence in the last couple of seconds. So we should hear that call out that the stage 1 engine chill has started. You'll also hear in flight, about a minute and a half, 2 minutes into flight, MVAC chill has begun. That's also a repeat sequence there, where we open the bleed valve and begin chilling that engine one more time before it lights after stage separation. Right now we're waiting to see the pre-valves come open and the chill begin. Well, we've got indication pre-valves coming open on the engines, and we have begun to chill in the Merlin engines for flight.
That's right, John. Now inside 6 minutes, 40 seconds. RP-1 rocket-grade kerosene is completely filled in the second stage. We're anticipating about 30 more seconds for the first stage to be completely filled with that RP-1 refined kerosene. Liquid oxygen will continue to flow through the first and second stages up to the final minutes before T0. Alright, confirmation. We have 100% fill of RP-1 on both the first and second stages. 6 minutes to go until an instantaneous launch window today. The next milestone will be Dragon to transition to configure for terminal count And this time, terminal count, the Dragon will be on internal power, no longer relying on the lines from the ground. And from there, the Falcon 9 propellant tanks will pressurize for strong back retract. That'll be another visual milestone. The clamps just below the Dragon's pressurized trunk will open, and the strong back will tilt back just 2 degrees. And right after liftoff, back to 45 degrees. Again, RP1 kerosene, both on the first and second stages. Liquid oxygen continues to flow through on the first and second stages. That very densified, very cold liquid oxygen.
Dragon has transitioned to configure the terminal power. Falcon 9 propellant tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
All right, John, good calls and right on time. Dragon is now on internal power.
Here we go.
Okay, next major event coming up is going to be opening the clamp arms around the second stage in preparation for retracting the strong back away from the vehicle to get ready for liftoff.
Strong back is retracting.
We heard the call out, strong back is beginning to retract. We're into the automated sequence. We should see the clamp arms that are just visible there around the top of the second stage begin to open up. Once they are open, then the strong back will begin to move away from the Falcon 9.
Oh, here we go. Wow, look at that.
Watching the sequence, a nice view from up on top of the fixed service structure. The arms are opening. We're beginning to recline away from the Falcon 9. We'll move the strong back 2 degrees away from the Falcon 9. That'll get it ready for liftoff. And at T0, when the flight computer commands liftoff, the hydraulics on the strong back will pull it to a position 45 degrees away from the Falcon 9, giving it the clearance for launch. So right now, the strong back is moving away. Everything proceeding nominally.
It's great to hear, John. We're also anxiously awaiting the liquid oxygen complete on the first stage. Should hear that call very shortly.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power. Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Okay, we've heard the call out. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're loading liquid oxygen on the second stage for about another 30 seconds or so. Once we get the liquid oxygen load complete on the second stage, the propellant line that runs up the side of the strong back that carries liquid oxygen, we'll vent that line down and make sure there's no liquid in it when we get to liftoff. When we do that, we open up valves on the strong back, and as Kate and Marie were talking earlier, when we vent off that very cold gaseous oxygen, it'll merge with the warm, humid Florida air, and you'll get a large white plume of condensation off of the back of the strong back. That'll be normal, coming about a minute and a half before launch. Everything continuing to look good.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete. Dragon is in auto idle.
All right, with that, the Falcon 9 is fully fueled. We have fuel on both the first and second stages, and both stages are filled with liquid oxygen.
Gas closeout has started. Expect loud venting.
Dragon is also in auto idle. The flight computers on Dragon, maintaining their calculations, standing by, waiting for the T0 mark. 1 minute 15 seconds until launch. The 1 minute mark, Dragon will transition to countdown, and the flight termination system will arm the computers on Falcon 9. We'll be talking to the computers on Dragon and can issue an abort if necessary.
STS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling. Dragon is in countdown.
All Right, 50 seconds to go. Everything is ready for an on-time launch today.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
Copy, go for launch.
Ground teams are ready, and the crew inside Dragon is ready. 30
Oh,
seconds
hey
to go
Tyler.
until launch.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission and liftoff. Godspeed.
Woo! Look at that.
Once again, 4 astronauts from 3 countries on Crew-2, now making their way to the one and only International Space Station.
Wow.
The vehicle is pitching downrange. 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, providing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Hearing good calls on first stage performance so far.
Look at that.
We are 10 plus 30 seconds into the second rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9. Falcon 9 will be throttling down the 9 Merlin engines shortly here in preparation for maximum dynamic pressure. And there's that call out for the throttle down. Maximum dynamic pressure, max Q, is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout ascent. So throttling down does help us pass. Throttling down helps us pass through this.
Wow, look at that.
There's that call out that we have just passed through max Q.
Stage 1 throttle up.
And we
One
can now.
Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
Alright, 1 Bravo is the second abort mode on the first stage. The first stage continues to fire for 2 minutes 35 seconds. 1.5 minutes into today's flight.
Oh, they don't abort.
Falcon 9 now traveling at 1,500 miles an hour.
Impact engine chill started.
Alright, the engine chill for the second stage single Merlin engine has started. About 30 more seconds of the first stage firing to bring our 4 astronauts into orbit.
Now from here, coming up in about 20-some seconds, we're going to have 3 major milestones. We'll have shutdown of the 9 Merlin engines. We're beginning to throttle them down. We will then get stage separation,
Throttle down.
and then we will get ignition of the second stage engine to propel Dragon and the Falcon 9 second stage into orbit.
Here we go.
Alpha.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
My position is 6
Congratulations,
We
SpaceX.
have ignition of the second stage. You see the green flash of that T-10 fluid. The expansion nozzle on the second stage Merlin vacuum glowing that bright red that we like to see. Good performance on the second stage so far.
And on the left side of your screen, we saw the exhaust of the second stage engine streaming past the first stage as the grid fins are coming out. We also briefly had a view of the lights of Central Florida in the background. Currently, the first stage is continuing to coast up to apogee. It's unpowered. It'll reach a peak height and then begin to descend back down toward the Earth's atmosphere, where it will light 3 engines to slow down in preparation for what will be a landing burn on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see the grid fins are deployed right now. The first stage pulsing.
Trajectory nominal.
We're pulsing the thrusters.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
We hear a call out from the crew, nominal trajectory. So we're beginning to move the first stage into position so it can do the entry burn.
minutes, 15 seconds into today's flight. Second stage propelling our 4 astronauts up the eastern seaboard will continue to fire. It's a 6-minute burn to deliver the astronauts into orbit. We'll wait for a cue for good orbital insertion after that. Meanwhile, we will be hearing check-ins on the vehicle's trajectory and performance, as well as check-ins with some of the ground stations as it passes over throughout the 6 minutes of the second stage firing.
Dragon SpaceX trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Getting good views of both the first and second stage from the onboard cameras.
Wow.
That was your signal bus.
The New Hampshire tracking station has acquired the second stage telemetry signal. Meanwhile, the first stage has reached apogee. It's now beginning to descend from a height. It's currently about 167 kilometers up. And
Wow.
in 2 minutes, we will get the entry burn of the second stage, of the first stage.
First stage just looks like it's in the ocean. It's amazing.
Dragon SpaceX trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Right on cue, those check-ins on the second stage performance. Once a minute, everything's looking good on that second stage. Stage 2 continues to climb, the vehicle now exceeding 8,000 miles an hour at an altitude of about 124 miles.
In just about 1 minute from now, we will begin the entry burn of the first stage. That will consist of lighting the center engine, and then shortly afterwards, 2 more engines for a 3-engine burn to slow down the first stage in preparation for entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Dragon SpaceX trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Another check-in, and the crew confirming they're hearing the same thing. The vehicle about to exceed about 10,000 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast.
Meanwhile, first stage down at 90 kilometers, getting ready. They'll relight 3 engines for the entry burn.
Stage 2 FTS.
Oh, here we go.
We've got the center engine ignition, and there come the 2 side engines. Now this entry burn will last about 29 seconds. It's going to significantly slow down the vehicle in preparation for hitting the denser part of the Earth's atmosphere. Entry burn complete. We're down below 35 kilometers.
Oh wow, is that the
First
Earth's?
stage, heading to the Atlantic Ocean for landing on the drone ship.
Wow, look at that.
While second stage is less than a minute away from cutoff.
Here she goes.
Stage 2 and terminal guidance.
She's descending. Come on, big girl, keep going.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
Shannon called out at the back end of the stage 2, a few seconds until cutoff.
MHSPshadow.
Dragon SpaceX launch escape system disarmed.
Woo!
Launch escape system disarmed. Copy.
Fantastic.
SpaceX nominal orbit insertion.
Copy, nominal orbital insertion.
Right, the Falcon 9 second stage has done its job, delivering our 4 crew into orbit.
Congratulations, SpaceX.
You hear the applause here in Hawthorne. We're waiting to get a video signal back from the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. And the view from the onboard camera we saw just briefly. It looks like first stage on the drone ship.
Oh, it's landed. Woo!
So the first stage is on the drone ship, successfully landed. And more importantly, second stage is in a nominal orbit with the Dragon spacecraft getting ready for some important events coming up, Gary.
That's right, about 2 more minutes. The Dragon and the second stage of the Falcon 9 will be in a coast phase. It'll take that long until the spacecraft separates from the Falcon 9. Of course, both now in a nominal orbit. It's great to see some of the views of the Earth as it passes by over the North Atlantic Ocean. We're getting shots of the crew in orbit, looking for that zero-G indicator. Can't seem to see it in this shot, but we have a minute to go until we have spacecraft separation. Dragon traveling at nearly 17,000 miles per hour and an altitude of 124 miles. Again, the 4-person crew of Endeavour is in orbit right now. Less than 30 seconds until we have spacecraft separation. Seconds to spacecraft separation. We should hear words from the core here in Mission Control Hawthorne once we have successful separation.
Woo!
Thanks for flying our first race driven Crew Falcon 9. See you inside, Crew-2.
Thank you very much. We're great. It's glad to be back in space for all of us, and we'll send our regards to Crew 1 when we get there. Thanks.
Absolutely stunning views from both inside the cabin, seeing the excitement of our 4-person crew inside Endeavour, and watching Endeavour drift away from the camera on the second stage as the Earth passes by on an orbital sunrise.
SpaceX Endeavour,
And Endeavour, you cut out a little bit there. If the question was if you're go to open visors, you are go to open visors at this time.
Copy and work, thanks.
All right, 13 and a half minutes past liftoff. The crew is in orbit, traveling at nearly 17,000 miles an hour.
Well, Gary, I don't know about you, but that was a great countdown. Everything sounded great. Right on time, actually a little ahead of time.
Nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
Got a good orbit out of Falcon 9, and first stage landed on the drone ship. And we're in the sunlight over the Atlantic Ocean with the Dragon spacecraft. All in all, a great day.
Everybody's jealous of the crew in orbit right now, John. These views, even just from the cameras, are absolutely stunning. It was great to see our crew members get into orbit. They already performed successful checkouts of the 12 service section Dracos around Dragon. Next milestone will be the deployment of the nose cone. That'll be about a 5-minute process, but that'll expose the forward bulkhead Dracos and prepare them for checkout. There's a phase burn. There's 5 major burns that are needed to get the Crew Dragon up to rendezvous with the International Space Station over the next 23 hours. And so that first phase burn is coming up real soon, in about 35 minutes, actually less than 35 minutes. Jesse, I don't know if you can see the 0G indicator, but I was told it's a penguin. I'm trying to look for it.
I'm looking for it too. Keep an eye out on that left-hand screen.
Meanwhile, the Dragon is configured for a nose cone deployment. Stand by for when that sequence starts. The nose cone itself opens just beyond 90 degrees, about 105 degrees, to expose the forward bulkhead Dracos. Those forward bulkhead Dracos, 4 of them at the very top of the Dragon, will do the bulk of the work when it comes to firing the Draco engines for minutes at a time to increase the Dragon's speed, altitude, and phasing to catch up with the International Space Station again over the next 23 hours. Meanwhile, we're still getting camera views from the second stage, looking at that expansion nozzle. Did its work beautifully to deliver the 4 crew into orbit. Dragon over the North Atlantic Ocean.
And Gary, this is John. I think I heard a call out on one of the Dragon nets that the first set of nose cone hooks is open. So it sounds like that sequence is going well.
Very good. Well, from here in Hawthorne, it was very exciting to see the Falcon 9 lift off and deliver our 4-person crew into orbit. We're going to be with you throughout the entire phase, the rendezvous phase, until Dragon and this 4-person crew docks with the International Space Station. That'll be over the next 23 hours. We'll bring you through some of those major burns that are happening. But I am so jealous of Marie and the group over there over at the Kennedy Space Center. You actually got to see the launch and probably feel it as well. Marie, what was that like?
Oh, it was just spectacular, and you know, the sun hasn't come up yet here in Florida, but you know, we were able to just turn around and see the launch right behind us, and it lit up the sky, just absolutely breathtaking.
It was so astounding to see the colors. I mean, it was not just your usual fireball, but there was pulsating towards the end. And Kate, you're much more eloquent describing that sequence, which I appreciate you doing that while we were happy to help. Staring, it was so fun, and knowing that those guys were enjoying the ride along with the sights that we got to see. Made all the difference. And there's nothing more relieving than crew in orbit.
And of course, we were so lucky to have clear weather here, being able to see the re-entry burn as well. I was hoping we were going to be able to catch landing burn, but unfortunately clouds on the horizon did block that view. But it was also such a treat to be able to see the re-entry of that first stage as well.
Let's go over to Jasmine to get some reaction. I think she's with the NASA administrator now. Jasmine?
Thanks. Thank you, Marie. Yes, I'm joined again here with Steve Jerzik. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So we just had the privilege of watching that spectacular launch in person. What was that like?
Watching a launch, particularly a human space launch, will never get old for me. It's just thrilling to see those 9 engines light up and it lift off the pad, get to the main engine cut off and separation, and get that second stage started. And of course, feed-on launches are always amazing, and you know, we could see the vehicle pretty much through the entire trajectory up to Earth orbit. It was just spectacular.
Right. No, absolutely. It was just stunning, and the sun is just now starting to peek over the clouds here. So do you have any final words of encouragement for our NASA team, our SpaceX team, and our international partners?
Yeah, partnerships are key to what we do, particularly in human spaceflight. Our partnership with SpaceX has been tremendous. Third launch in less than a year. After almost a 10-year gap in human spaceflight, launching astronauts from American soil on American rockets. So our partnership with SpaceX and our commercial partners, other commercial partners, is critical, and our international partners. We could not do this without them. Very international mission with 2 U.S. astronauts, and one from ESA and one from JAXA, and obviously the ISS is the largest engineering international collaboration in the history of humankind, and it continues to amaze me how well we work together and doing all the research and technology on ISS. And I'm just so grateful for the NASA SpaceX team for their hard work and getting this third launch off, the Crew-2 launch, and looking forward to docking and hatch opening and the welcome ceremony, and also looking forward to Crew-1 return next Thursday on the 28th.
Right. A lot of action still going on at the station right now. So, as you mentioned, the next big milestone for Crew-2 will be docking at the station. So, where are you going to be for that action?
I'm actually going to stay here at Kennedy Space Center and follow the free flight up to docking, and then I'm going to participate in the welcoming ceremony with my counterparts from ESA, the Director General of ESA, and the President of JAXA, and welcome the Crew-2 astronauts to the ISS.
Fantastic. Kennedy is the place to be right now, then, I guess. Do you have any final remarks that you want to share with us today?
Hey, I'm just so proud of the team. I'm so proud of what this team has been able to accomplish over the past year, particularly. It's been especially challenging, global pandemic and other challenges, and just the focus of the team to get these 3 crew launches off, as well as launch Perseverance, land Perseverance, first powered flight, controlled powered flight of a vehicle on another planet, first time generating oxygen from the atmosphere of Mars, and really looking forward to the core stage for SLS getting here, and us moving forward to the first uncrewed test flight, Artemis 1 of SLS and Orion. So accomplished an incredible amount in this last year, and much more to accomplish in the year to come.
Absolutely. We've got a bright future right here at NASA. Thank you so much, NASA Administrator Steve Jerzik, for joining us today.
Here we go. Been waiting 23 hours for this.
23 hours.
That's how long it's been doing it for.
They no longer will have control of any aborts. If there is an abort needed, it will have to be done by the Dragon Space.
And on the big loop, monitor first steps 3 and 4 and 1.104.
Bear in mind, they are going 17,000 miles an hour right now. And that's like literally above the Earth. 17,000 miles an hour.
Oh, in orbit, yeah.
The CHOP, which is the crew hands-off point. So as mentioning earlier, if there is an abort, it will need to be done autonomously by Dragon.
Alright, we did get confirmation. Approach 2 has been initiated. So Dragon now making its way inside the 20-meter hold point. About 18 meters and closing. Final approach.
18 meters.
International Space Station
18
has started.
meters as well.
Yeah.
Docking expected in about 3.5
That's
minutes.
quite close. Oh my god, look at that! So they've just said on the camera that the camera that they've used on the International Space Station is being controlled by mission control. So they're showing what's going on. Wow, look at that.
You can see on your screen as Crew Dragon slowly approaches towards that port for docking.
Amazing.
Sorry, we're 13 meters and closing, making a slow
13.
to the dock.
Oh my god.
That's on the forward end of the International Space Station, that international docking adapter where Crew Dragon.
How am I so good at timing these things? It's like yesterday, I just woke up and then all of a sudden I just saw that online.
Yeah.
Of the launch happening.
Copy 10 meters.
That column
10
was
meters.
Dragon is just 10 meters away from the International Space Station as it continues its approach for docking.
Come on. She's that close. Look at that. That's a beautiful picture of SpaceX's capsule. Look at that.
Followed by a hard capture. What that hard capture means is 12 physical.
I've just seen on Twitter that they said that they had a good flight.
Yeah.
Like a really good flight. They said they really enjoyed it.
Station and Dragon fly in tandem 263 statute miles over the South Indian Ocean in the back.
263 miles above the sea level. That's how far they are.
That's,
Yeah, pretty high.
yeah.
Here we go. You can see the camera now on the screen. This is a big black shadow coming over it.
We start to see the detail on the Dragon there as it is closing in on.
Here she comes.
That's right, 2.5 meters, 30 seconds.
Oh, come on.
Crew hands off point.
Dock.
Hold out.
Dock. Dock. She's that close. The camera's fuzzing out, it's going absolutely mad.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop, soft capture confirmed.
Yes! They did it! Oh, fantastic!
Great news with that call out. That soft capture is confirmed.
They've just docked. Yes!
Time 2:08 a.m. Pacific time, 4:08 a.m. Eastern. Station and Dragon connected 264 statute miles over the South Indian Ocean.
It's around 10 o'clock, isn't it, right?
Connected to International
What's that?
Space Station
The time.
for the second time.
Over here.
Now,
Yeah.
It's 10 past 10.
There are still
That's
a few
mad.
steps to complete before Dragon is securely attached.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop, soft capture ring retraction in progress.
That is fantastic. Congratulations to them. Massively.
That's good. The ring retraction is imminent.
Look at that. There they are. Can't believe that camera is from the 80s. Look at it.
That one.
That camera there. That's from the 80s.
Yeah, isn't the International Space Station coming to an end with its life now?
I'm not so sure.
I'm pretty sure it's only got about 5-10 years left.
I'm not so sure.
Really awesome view
I'm not
of
sure.
Dragon
I hear they might be doing some stuff to it,
as
but
it
I'm
is
not so sure.
connected to the port, currently making progress on hard
They've been doing it for
capture.
20 years, haven't they?
Yeah.
They said they're going to do a few things. They're preparing for the Artemis mission. That's why they're up there. They haven't said anything about it coming to an end of its life. So it could be a rumour, I'm not too sure. They've just been given the go to open the visors.
Crew Dragon Endeavour officially made it to the International Space Station. That dynamic period of the docking phase is complete. The crew inside Dragon have been wearing their suits just as an extra precaution, but they can go ahead and pull up their visors. It's going to be some time until the hatches themselves are open between Dragon and the International Space Station. Still some things to configure on that side. The vestibule on the International Docking Adapter that separates the hatches of Dragon and the International Space Station has been exposed to the vacuum of space and has had the sun shining on it periodically. So when repressurizing the vestibule to equal the pressure inside the space station.
Woo! They've just been accessed.
International Space Station Commander Shannon Walker welcoming the crew. Now Crew-2 officially made it to the International Space Station. Again, it's going to be some time until they come in. But the commander of the International Space Station welcoming 4 new crew members for her expedition on board here shortly.
Docking completed. Woo!
Official words that docking is complete. The crew must be so excited to finally have arrived at the space station. Again, there is some more steps that they will need to complete and then some checks before they can ingress on the space station. But the crew can now get out of their suits before moving into hatch operations. So now they can start to get comfortable again. They no longer need these suits now that they have.
Look at that. You can see all of them.
That's right. And so it'll be some time again until that area between the International Space Station and the hatches.
Endeavour on Dragon to ground. Are you ready for us to begin seat docking?
SpaceX copies, you are go to begin suit doffing and audio configuration. Procedure 4.012.
Copy that, good work.
So again, it'll take some time. The crew will begin doffing or taking off their suits. It'll be some time to repressurize the vestibule. Station side, astronauts on the station side will configure the hatch, getting ready to open that up and welcome the crew inside the International Space Station. It was a pretty great docking. Everything happened right on cue and as expected. So it was great to see Crew Dragon Endeavour dock to the International Space Station once again. We've enjoyed it.
There you go. Look, they're in suiting now.
The space station side of things as we work together to complete today's operation. Let's go to Courtney Beach for a refresher on what's ahead. Now that Dragon is docked.
Cameras are external.
Copy, thanks.
Thanks, Gary. It's great to see Dragon successfully docked to the International Space Station. Even through the face masks, you can see and feel the excitement in the room here in Mission Control Houston. Now that we're docked, Victor Glover is securing some hardware, and then he'll move right into hatch operations. First, he will open the large hatch at node 2 forward, giving him access inside the pressurized mating adapter. Then he will have to pressurize the vestibule, which is the small space between the hatches on Dragon and the space station. This was exposed to vacuum prior to docking, and he will need to fill it with air and make sure its pressure is nearly equal with the atmospheric pressures on Dragon and the station. He will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the vestibule, and flight controllers here in Houston will monitor the pressure and temperature readings inside and verify that everything is leak-free before we get ready to open up the hatches. We expect it to take about 2 hours to get everything pressurized and checked out before we open hatches. With Dragon successfully docked to the International Space Station, that's the latest from here in Mission Control Houston. And back to the team over in Hawthorne.
All right, thanks, Courtney. As mentioned, it will take some time to go ahead and go through those procedures, but we'll stay with you throughout today's coverage. Of course, one of the major things will be repressurizing the vestibule in between the hatches. There's a hatch called the A-Pass hatch, like the hatch on the International Space Station side, and then there's the Dragon hatch itself. In between is a vestibule that's currently at vacuum, so in order to travel through both hatches, you need to repressurize that. Now that there's a hard mate between the two vehicles, they'll check the seal, they'll do some leak checks as they're repressurizing the vestibule up to vacuum, and that will take some time.
SpaceX has you loud and clear on the cabin mic.
You're hearing the crew inside Endeavour go through their procedures. One of the first things they're ready to do is take off those suits. They had to wear it through several of the operations of a launch from the Kennedy Space Center to a docking with the International Space Station. Launch is a very dynamic activity, so they had suits on up until orbital insertion, and then they were able to doff their suits, have a meal, go to bed, check out some of the systems, wake up, and then right before they entered into the approach phase of today's flight with the approach initiation burn, they got their suits on and were able to pressurize them, and they held pressure throughout that sequence of today's flight until docking. Now they get to take it off, they get to stretch out, change into something a little bit more comfortable, but not too comfortable, of course, because they will be, we will have an event to welcome them on board the International Space Station. We expect all 11 crew members to be there to welcome them. It's going to be pretty crowded. It should be very exciting to see that many people on board the International Space Station.
And those call-outs that we just heard were they were doing a comm check with the Crew Dragon communications because they've now taken off their suits. They have comms through their suits, but since they're not going to be wearing their suits anymore, they need to use the comms through Dragon. So very exciting. It sounds like they're getting out of their suits as we speak, or doffing their suits. And then we will soon begin the process to open up those hatches so that the crew can finally ingress onto the space station. So it will take a little bit of time, but we will be here with you through every step of the way.
The Crew-2 astronauts are on the other side of that hatch. Once that hatch is open, there will be 11 crew members on board the International Space Station.
So the call out's just gone out, and the situation is that they are about to come through. So here we go.
Sort of forget that you don't really need to be in an upright position to work for this orientation. We're looking sort of in an upright position. If you look down or nadir from this position, you would go straight down towards the Earth, but you can see clearly Suichi Noguchi upside down. Mike Hopkins was just upside down. You don't really need to be in this kind of orientation to work. Endeavour from NASA, who arrived earlier this month on the Soyuz MS-18 rocket launching from Kazakhstan, with 2 Russian cosmonauts, Oleg Novinsky and Fyodor Librov, will be joining for the welcome ceremony to welcome the Crew-2 astronauts aboard as well.
choose to be on the space station since they're not really walking anywhere. They're floating around.
Makes sense, to be fair.
They use their hands really to propel themselves from module to module, but their feet, you can see some of the blue handrails situated around the International Space Station. I believe there's a good shot of how astronauts typically use those handrails that wrap their feet underneath them to stabilize them. Looks like the pressurized mating adapter is used for some stowage, so there's really just looks like Gucci and Endeavour are reconfiguring some of these stowed items to allow some room to open up the A-Pass hatch, the hatch on the International Space Station side, and provide a pathway for the Crew-2 astronauts to come through the hatch to be welcomed in Note 2.
It's about to happen.
So again, the vestibule is pressurized between the Dragon hatch and the station hatch. You can see Gucci working on the station hatch. His next procedure is to go ahead and open it. And you can see, confirmed, A-Pass hatch is open.
Woo!
Gucci taking some initial photographs. Part of the procedure will be to survey the hatch itself, inspect for any foreign object debris.
Just to note, this has been taking on hours and hours of doing this. So I've just thought to do some recording on this, and this is just amazing to watch.
Dragon SpaceX for procedure 4.400. When you're ready with that A-Pass hatch call, that does unblock us to go into section 5 of 4.400 when we get there. Additionally, when you're ready, we are ready to collect inventory in section 3.
Inventory coming to you, and we're ready for section 5 after that.
SpaceX copies, thanks.
Directing the inventory. So just to go back to what I reported prior, the only delta is 2 miles from location as far as I go back 204 and location 9. All the rest is as per our previous report. So I'm not sure you need all the details of what's remaining. Just kind of get the details of what the consumed from the locations. I can give you the details if you call me.
SpaceX copies. If there's no delta from your previous report, we don't need it. But I will read back, that was 4 bottles from bag 204.
Is that them? Oh, it's from International Space Station.
Copy that. 2 bottles from
Bloody controller.
Last question for section 5 of 4.400. Does that 2 bottle include the additional bottle that will be used in step 5.1, or will we require an additional bottle?
That's a good question. We're working on this, so you can add another bottle for this section, and we'll grab it from 206.
Alright, SpaceX copies, thanks to Mel. I will take 1 bottle from 206. this report, or did you also consume midday meals for today?
No, we didn't consume anything. The latest last food consumption was around reported before.
Thank you.
Alright, you just heard the Corps here in Mission Control Hawthorne communicating with the crew on the inside of the Dragon. They're behind this camera view that you're seeing here. This is the center line camera of Crew Dragon Endeavour. You're getting a look at Soichi Noguchi as he outfits the A-Pass hatch, getting ready for the astronauts inside Endeavour to come through the hatch. The hatch to Dragon is still closed as Noguchi continues to outfit that A-Pass hatch. He took some photographs upon entering into the vestibule that you see here, and took some photographs to survey the A-Pass hatch, make sure the seals look good. Reported that they all looked good, so he's continuing with the procedures to attach some pads and remove the docking rod from the center of the A-Pass hatch. A-Pass standing for Androgynous Peripheral Assembly System. It's just the hatch on the station side, the last one until you get to the Dragon hatch.
Dragon SpaceX, question on procedure 4.012 suit docking. Actually, I just wanted to follow up. I wanted to confirm that all 4 suits are drying, and then when ready, when we can come back on board.
All 4 suits are drying. Some of them have been dry for an hour already, and you are welcome to come back on board.
Thanks a lot, thank you.
Very cool. Got some words that we might get some camera views inside of Crew Dragon. The Crew-2 team already docked their suits, and confirming that their suits are drying as they are waiting for ingress on the International Space Station.
For hatch opening, per the decal on the hatch, followed by the remaining actions in procedure 4.400, section 6.
Yes, there it goes.
And this is the opening from the interior side of the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Here we go.
This is the Crew-2 crew performing this work right now. It looks like the crew on station is getting excited, peeking in.
I'm feeling energy for sure. Alright, Dragon hatch is open. Meanwhile, in the frame now, you can see the 4-person crew of Crew Dragon Resilience. From left to right, you have Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, Soichi Noguchi, and Mike Hopkins.
Soichi doing some flips for us.
That's right.
Got some confirmation that the guys go for ingress, and you can see Aki is the first to ingress onto the International Space Station.
And Gwyn.
And Gwyn.
Followed by Taban Pesquet from the European Space Agency.
Lots of hugs and smiles right now.
Pilot Megan MacArthur of Crew-2 is next, being welcomed by the Expedition 65 crew members, and Shane Kimbrough bringing up the rear. The 11-person crew of Expedition 65 now together inside No. 2 of the International Space Station.
Congratulations, guys.